Good afternoon, everybody. It's Sunday the 16th, and we are going to be doing stuffed acorn squash today. And so we're going to start by, I've cut it in half and I've cleaned out the centers. The next thing you're going to just want to do is drizzle it with some olive oil. And I think what I'd like to do is take this and just make sure I get it all nice and moist. And again, olive oil is one of the healthiest oils out there, so when you can, use it. It's also relatively inexpensive compared to a lot of things. And then we're gonna salt it up a little bit. And remember, I'm using a Redmond real salt, so it has more than just sodium in it. It has magnesium and all sorts of things in it that are good for you, all the trace selenium and all of the trace minerals that most of us aren't getting. Okay, so now then the next thing to do is to plop them upside down. And they're going to go in the oven for about 20 minutes. The first time around, then we'll stuff them and they'll go in for another 20 minutes. So then the next thing we're going to do is, what I'm going to do for this stuffing is it's going to be chicken, sausage, apple, pecans, onions, and cheese in the stuffing. So we're going to start by getting my chicken breast out. And it's going to go in the pan. And tomorrow I am going to do this last chicken breast for you with acorn squash as well, but in a whole different way. So this meal prep takes about 40 minutes only because that's how long it takes for the squash to make. Really, cook time is going to be a whole lot less. And so, while this is starting to heat up, I pre-chopped my apples, and this is what's left over that's going to the horses. Let's go ahead and mix up this. Anyways, I pre-cut the apples up, and so I put it into some water with a little bit of lemon juice just to keep them from browning. So let's just kind of drain those out. And put those in here. And then we have sausage. And you can use any kind of sausage you want. You can also get ground sausage and brown it up. This is some pre-cooked andouille sausage that I had left over from the other day. These are my pecans. I'm going to just leave a few out. And I'm going to cook that a little bit. I'm going to cook that. These are just some dried cranberries for a little sweet and tartness. And this is a Granny Smith apple. And you can pre-cook the, you can cook up the sausage too. I just didn't feel like it was necessary. And then I want to cook that. So, that's pretty easy with that. Pepper. And then that's really it. So, anyways, I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday. The weather has been absolutely insane here. It rained and rained and rained and rained and rained last night. And so I have a hill that's sliding, and there's one of my water shutoffs is in that hill, and it toppled over, and I don't think the line is broken, but I can't even walk out there. The mud is, I'd be knee high in mud and stuck. It becomes like quicksand. And then it dropped like 10, 15 degrees in an hour, and it's snowing now. So all that heaving and, thawing and freezing and thawing and freezing is really doing its toll on. I think I'm going to add a little green onions to this too, just a little bit. So anyways, I don't know what's going on with the weather, but I don't like it. But it is what it is. So, wanted to kind of give you a heads up, and I don't know how, what, where exactly it's happening, but I saw that someone in the United States is buying up just a ton of gold, physical gold, primarily from the UK and other countries, but also from the US. And what's happened is the gold, there's all these companies that sell gold and they'll hold it for you and say keeping, blah, 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 blah. Well, they will sell the same ounce of gold to several people, and so now there is really a shortage on what is physical gold and what they say is gold. And on top of that, Trump has looked at the value of gold in our own treasury, and don't quote me on these numbers, but it's like at $400 an ounce, and as you know, gold is much, much higher than $400 an ounce. So what he is wanting to do is rectify that and get it up to the real value of gold, which would actually decrease our debt significantly. But in the process, they have to have physical gold to do this, is my understanding. And again, I could be wrong on that. But it's causing a lot of problems, and it's very likely, when I heard somebody was buying up the gold, it reminded me of Soros when he broke the Bank of London, I believe, and Bank of England, one of the two. And this seems like one of those kind of scams. And it could be very bad. And I don't know what it exactly means. I'm not a financial person. I do healthcare. But it is certainly something that makes you go, So just be aware, if you own gold, you might want to see if you can get it in the physical form before this all plays out. Be ahead of the game. If you don't own gold, I don't know whether you should buy it or shouldn't buy it. That's not my thing. But it really does make you wonder. And, when you look at the Ezekiel 38 war, God's going to put the hook in the jaw of Russia to go down and invade Israel. And many have thought that it very likely could be they have huge gas reserves off the offshore in Israel. It could be the gas. Right now there's no oil, but that doesn't mean that it isn't there. It just means that it hasn't been discovered. But he specifically talks about cattle on the hill and gold, and it really makes me wonder. To my knowledge, Solomon's gold, which was tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of gold. In fact, there was so much gold during Solomon's time that silver had no value. Okay, and so anyways, that gold was stashed away somewhere and has never been found. And I could very easily see God finding that gold, an archaeological. This is just some cheddar cheese. I decided I'll go ahead and add that now too. And that's going to kind of hold it all together and just add some creaminess to it. It's not a lot. Okay. So anyway, we'll see. But anyways, I will not be surprised if gold is found. Solomon's gold in particular. And that that is the hook in the jaw that brings Gog, which is a prince. It's a title. And Magog is Rosh, Tubal, Tagarma. So it's Turkey and Iran and Russia and Ethiopia and a couple other countries. So we're just going to do that. And so we'll see. I think that, times are going to get interesting. So this dish is doing a good job of clearing out a bunch of excess stuff that I've had that needed to be used up. And this is just caramelize these. Actually, let's use butter. Butter. So I think we're getting closer and closer to more prophecy being fulfilled, is basically what I'm saying. And I don't know the timing of it. I do think there's still things that have to be worked out, and I think God is using Trump. He has a unique personality. He has a way to get things done. Just like God used Nebuchadnezzar and Pharaoh and other important people, Nehemiah, and all of those to rebuild and to just a little bit of garlic to this. But I would keep your eyes on Israel. Remember, Israel is God's time clock. Israel is the minute hand, or the hour hand. Jerusalem is a minute hand, and the Temple Mound is the second hand. And I don't know if y'all are familiar with the red heifers. Mondo Gonzalez wrote a book on it. He's probably the foremost authoritarian on it. He's done a lot of research. But anyways, it's been, I think, 2 years now that they brought 5 red heifers over from the United States. And they had to bring them over as pets to get them flown in, and they spent thousands and thousands of dollars, and they've been being kept in Shiloh. Well, the red heifer is not a sacrifice. It's part of a cleansing ritual that God commanded. And there have been 9 of them so far. The last one was during Jesus' time. And to cleanse the temple and the priest properly in God's ordained way, they need the ashes of a red heifer. So it's not a sacrifice, but a heifer does need to be killed, and the ashes taken and mixed in a certain way with holy water, and the priests and all the temple implements and everything have to be washed in it. And but a little goes a long way. What? Like I said, there's only been 10 of them in 4,000 years, and so. Or there's been 9. This would be the 10th. And there's a lot of old Jewish writings, and you can maybe even say folklore, that says that the 10th heifer will usher in the Messiah. And then when you put that together with the Dead Sea Scroll calendars and just what's happening in the world, I just don't know how with AI we can last very much longer. And what is very much? Is it 2 years, 10 years, 20 years, 100 years, 500 years? I don't know. But at some point, I do believe AI will be the death of us. I do not think we'll run out of resources, although they might be made unavailable by man, but God will never leave us without resources. Um, you know, he said he'd provide, and he will. But anyways, what I do think will happen is let's see how that is. I don't want to. I figure I can always add more, but I can't take it out, and any that's left over can go to the dogs, so they like chicken. Anyway, so there's 3 left. They have to be a certain age. They have to be at least 2, and I don't think they can be over 5, and I believe they're 3 now. So the longer these heifers go, the more likely they can get a blemish. They can scrape up against something and get, hurt. They can, Hamas would love to kill them. They can't have more than 2 or 4 non-red hairs, and that means coming out of the same follicle. But again, the older they get, the more likely that's going to happen. So we really are at a point, and I'm going to add a little bit of feta cheese to this too. We're really at a point where they need to be utilized. And so, I think we're going to find that it would not surprise me if this Passover is the time. I don't know that. But there is, the Temple Institute bought land on the Temple Mount somewhere. I don't know where. I don't know that it's ever been disclosed. To do the sacrifice. And, well, I shouldn't call it sacrifice. To kill the ritual, the procedure, the whatever you want to call it. To prepare the red heifer. And so, yeah, I think that it's going to happen real soon. And this year, I think, is a high likelihood because the longer you wait, the more chance that there is that things go wrong. And it was so expensive, and they waited 2,000 years to find these. Now, they have done some procedures, I believe, to set them up for future red heifers through AI, but again, I think that's going to be a problem for the real ultra-Orthodox and traditionalists, so I don't see that happening. But we'll see. So keep your ears to the ground for that. Like I said, I won't be surprised if that happens this Passover. It does not have to happen on a particular date. But once that happens, then the third temple can be built. And there's a lot of controversy on, oh, we don't want the third temple to be built. It's going to be the Antichrist temple and blah, blah, blah. We're not going to stop it. In God's time and God will, it's going to happen. There has to be a third temple. Otherwise, the abomination of desolation can't happen. There's going to be an Antichrist. There's going to be, aka the beast. There's going to be the false prophet. There's all of these things will happen. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And yes, there are a couple scriptures that say we can slow things down, but we do that by prayer. We do that by deeds. We do that by bringing more people onto the ark. We don't do it by demonstrations. We don't do it by talking blasphemy against the Lord. I don't know if supporting the Temple Institute or not is good or bad. I just know that that temple's going to get built. Somehow, some way, something's going to happen that opens the door for them building that temple on the Temple Mount. The Jews are getting more and more access all the time. The groundwork, the stage is being set. So what we need to do is just pray. We need to, just pray. So that's been 20 minutes on this. Tip that over. I just want to see how tender it is. I think it's going to be okay. So now all we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to pack it in. And I'm going to have way more filling than I need. But I think I have some good uses for that. It would be really good in a salad. And so I'm not going to worry about that. And this is a meal in and of itself. High in protein, high in fiber. And then what I'm going to do is just drizzle a little bit of maple syrup on this. Because those apples are tart. And then another 20-30 minutes in the oven. And what I'm going to do is cut this off and come back and show you when it's all done. Although I don't think it's going to look a whole lot different, to be honest with you. So, I hope you enjoy this recipe. Be safe out there. Stay close to God. Like, share, subscribe. Leave a comment. It helps the algorithm. It helps the news get out. It helps others see these recipes and hear a little bit about the Lord and current events. And so I appreciate that when you do that. And we'll go into more health stuff in the future. I know one thing I wanted to share with you. I talked a little bit about, earlier in the year about what intermittent fasting does and longer fastings as far as autophagia, which is, or autophagy, which is cleaning out old dead cells that just clog up the system, and the ones that are damaged can lead to cancer. It also, supports immune health by creating more stem cells, and then you get new cells and that. So it's really something that's beneficial to do once or twice a year, do a longer fast. The other thing it does is it gets us into ketosis, and we basically have two energy systems in our body. One is glucose, one is ketones. And the ketones come from the fat. So you want to be really flexible in going from glucose to fat burning, And there's a few ways. Once you start getting yourself into ketosis more, the more it is. It's kind of like, a door handle or a gate hinge. It's squeaky and rickety and it's hard. And once you get it lubed up and you're using it, it works really well. But if you don't use it for a while, it gets creaky and sticky again, okay? And so, anyways, I did a 4-day fast at the beginning of the year. And normally that would really kind of rev my ketone burning system and fat burning system into fire. And it really didn't. And I thought, I gave it some time and I went I just don't feel like I'm getting into ketosis. Now you can do something like you can do breathing things, and you can do blood tests to see if you're actually, or even urine to see if you're spilling ketones. I didn't do any of that. I usually can feel it. And so I started thinking about it, well, what am I missing? And I realized that it was just kind of like right in front of my face. And that is, most of the mitochondria that make energy in our body are in muscles. And the energy is called ATP. And so our muscles are creating energy all the time. So they're burning energy, glucose or ketones, all the time, right? So the more muscle you have, the more energy you burn and the leaner you stay. Well, what often happens when we put on weight is that we also become more sedimentary, and we're not moving as much. We're not using our muscles as much. So we lose muscle mass. So we increase fat mass, we decrease muscle mass. And I thought about it, and I'm certainly not as active as I was before. And I told you I got the dumbbells, and I've been doing that. And I started walking. And the other thing, because the weather has been just absolutely not friendly to walking at all, and there's no mall or anything like that around here to walk. So I thought, well, I'm going to just start doing some Zumba right after I eat. Now, I do it right after I eat for two reasons. One is I want to build more muscle mass. But two, I don't want my body to store more fat, okay? I want it to go, oh, she needs energy right now. Let's use this food that she just took in, okay? So otherwise it gets stored to fat, and it's kind of like you're always putting stuff into your pantry, right? And you're like, and you lock the door on the pantry, and you go, I don't have any food, because you can't get in your pantry. And then you go buy food, you put it in your pantry, you lock the door, and you can't get in. And, oh, I need to buy food. Okay, our bodies are kind of working that way. They always want to survive. That's their goal. They're very efficient at surviving. And so they're going to do the most efficient thing to keep you alive. And so I started doing Zumba for like 20 minutes right after I eat. Well, let me tell you, and I realized, okay, the more I build muscle mass, so the more muscle cells I have, the more energy I'm going to burn, the easier it is to lose weight, right? Because the demands on the body for energy goes up. And in the last few days, I have really felt a difference in my body and my energy and my sleep and everything. So I just wanted to share that with you, because it's something that we often forget. And there's two ways of weightlifting. One is for hypertrophy, which means to build more muscle mass, bigger muscles. And the other is for strength. And we need both. But as we get older, I think we, in particular, need more hypertrophy. We need more muscle mass because we've lost it. And so anyways, what you need to do to build mass is to do more reps of a lower weight. So not your max weight you can do, but about 80% of that, and you do more reps. So you want to do 3 to 4 reps of 12 to 15 of whatever exercise you're doing. And if that gets you winded, then that's probably where you want to be. Start light, go for more reps. Maybe the first time on the light, no weights, you can only do it 12 times. That's okay. Next time, try and do 15, or try and do 2 reps of 12 and build up to it. It's just like walking, especially if you've been away from it long. But I heard something yesterday that was so true, that muscle is the best Spanx there is, because it holds everything in. It makes you flat and lean. So you're going to look better in your clothes, you're going to feel better, you're going to have more energy, and you're going to be healthier. The other thing, especially for those of us that are aging, one of the quickest ways to die or be permanently disabled is to break your hip. People do not do well after hip breakage, right? It takes a long, long time for that bone to heal. It's not uncommon for them to get infections, especially pneumonia. So one of the last things you want to do is break a hip, or even break a shoulder or an arm or anything. It really slows you down, and you waste away pretty fast once you get older. So one of the other things you want to work on is flexibility, stability, balance, and quickness of step. Now, what do I mean by quickness of step? Well, any of you with dogs know that it's not uncommon for them to get under your feet and you need to move quickly, right? They trip you, and before you fall, you need to get your feet underneath you quick, right? Tennis players, basketball players, a lot of sports need quickness of feet. And if you lose that and you trip, you're more likely going to fall. So I would also encourage you, like right now I'm just standing on one foot. I'm not balancing on this, but I'm just kind of very lightly stabilizing myself. Why am I doing that? Because I want my body to learn to stay in balance no matter if I'm on one foot or both feet. Okay? Doing things like squats, even if you have to do it against a wall. Add these things into your day. You need to keep your muscle up. You need to keep your strength up. You need to keep your stability up. Work on, different dance steps. Get your coordination back, and it also gets your feet moving faster. Doing things like grapevines and, different step across and step forward and even a lot of the arm movements, especially when you put them into a pattern and you're doing things. And some of the things like that I was doing in the one program are very simple, like you're just doing like this. And that doesn't seem like anything, but it's a real big thing on a somatic level on getting your neurosystem trained and engaging that parasympathetic nervous system that we talked about. Most of us are relying on our sympathetic fight or flight all the time, and we're tense and we're stressed and we're causing ourselves to die sooner. We need to get that parasympathetic engaged more and more. We need to stimulate it, which is that vagal nerve. And as we do that, that fight or flight goes down, our pulse comes down, our respiration rate comes down, and our body is able to heal more. It's the rest and digest. And so, again, we've been talking a lot about the microbiome and gut health. Well, we can't have that if we're not getting good blood flow there, if we're not in the rest and digest state. So I would encourage you to do, yawn, right? Laugh, smile, gurgle, right? Go and gargle for a little bit. Touching your ears right here and doing light massage. There's a clavicle massage you can do. You do this for 15 seconds and get your hands nice and warm. And then you massage your clavicle. Okay, you can do that on your carotid too. All of those stimulate the parasympathetic and the vagal nerve. And what we're trying to do is get back into balance so we're not always on one side of it to the other. And we're so far on one side that we really almost need to overdo it. It's like when you bend a wire, right? To get that wire back to middle, if it's bent, you usually have to bend it past middle so that it rebounds to middle. It's the same with supplements. It's the same with our bodies. And if we're too far on one way, like you're constipated, you almost got to get yourself to diarrhea to really come back to middle. If you're deficient on magnesium, if you're deficient on vitamin D, you almost have to, well, not almost, you do have to go kind of in excess and then come back because your body's been deficient so long, it's just using up. And you never get the bowl fill, okay? So I just wanted to share those things with you. I would encourage you to add those to your life and to your routines. There's I'm going blank on her last name, but her first name is Ernestine. She's 88 years old and a bodybuilder. I would highly encourage you to look her up. She is motivation. She didn't start working out until her 50s. She looks like she's, maybe 40 years old, maybe. And body-wise, probably more like a 20-year-old. You see a little bit of age in her face, but she certainly doesn't look 88. We've got 8 minutes to go, but I just want to show you what this looks like. Okay? And then we'll probably top it with some rosemary. Okay. So anyways, I wish you a very blessed day. Stay safe. Stay in the Word. Stay close to God. Take care of your body. We're working on nutrition here. Food for the soul. Remember, the spirit needs scripture. Read your Bible daily. And relationship. exercise. All of that is food for your soul, because we're body, mind, spirit, and biopsychosocial, spiritual beings. Okay, so we can't leave any of it out, or we're not complete. It's like leaving a slice out of a pie; it just doesn't look right. So make sure that all of those areas are, your family, your friends, your food. This is plenty of food. Share it, and I love you all. Tomorrow, God willing, I will do one last chicken dish, and probably use some of this, and I have another squash that needs to be used up, so we'll do another take on it, probably sauteed. And you see, I'm not using a lot of pots and pans, just because I get things cut up early for you. I use some bowls, but even then you don't really need to do that if you're putting it straight into the bowl. So it's fast, easy, and super nutritious and healthy for you. And every day we're doing something different, so there's lots of variety. And we've traveled all over the world. We've been to Asia, we've been south of the border, we've been to Italy, we've been to Europe. All of these dishes come from a variety of backgrounds and ethnic influence. So it's kind of like being on vacation all the time, and wherever you are, you're trying the food there. Okay? So love you all. Have a blessed day. Talk to you tomorrow.